Don't miss the 46th Annual Southeast Field Days, celebrating the diversity of the Limestone Coast. 3 large pavilions featuring a huge range of the latest in agricultural equipment. Plus our guests, Airtime FMX, Quince Queen, Kathy Hughes and country music sensation Leah Briggs. As well, 2026 Coprice Australian Yard Dog Championships, plenty of demonstrations, trade stands and more. Over 500 sites with something for everyone. March 20 and 21 at Yakka Park, Lucindale.
So Wild Mountain straddles a ridge that runs up to the McPherson Range, which runs east-west, and that's the New South Wales-Queensland border. We want to move people. We want them to be engaged with the natural world and to realise that there is a place where you can come, where you can get back in touch with nature, be with like-minded people who are interesting and varied from young and old.
It's really amazing to be here on the ground with incredible organisations like Wild Mountains. They're really the backbones of communities. So we're really proud to be able to support organisations like this to withstand disaster risk that they might face and continue to do the good work that they do into the future.
In 2019, the fires came to within about 12 kilometres, and if we need to evacuate, we have the potential for leaving and turning on a sprinkler system that allows the water to keep going for at least 8 hours to keep the buildings damp and stop ember attack, which I think is wonderful. And I think that RSEQ helping support the community in that, I think is great.
Buy Australian made and you're backing local jobs, a stronger economy, and the way we live right here. Australian made right here.
Welcome to the Country Telegraph. It's a Friday. Who was counting down the days? A big week this week, but what about all over Australia? No fuel, running out of it. Government walks around in circles, flapping their arms, wondering why they can't take off. And then we have the the tropical cyclone Narelle, which is creating all sorts of havoc in northern Queensland. And then we have the everyday problems that are just plaguing this country. We'll talk politics very shortly. Speaking of tropical cyclone Narelle, it remains a severe Category 3 system as it moves across Cape York in far north Queensland. Now, residents are reporting extreme winds and that they've felled trees and damaged roofs as the system barrels across the Cape towards the Gulf of Carpentaria. So got to hunker down there and just keep your fingers crossed, and hopefully things will come out better than we expect. Now, Minister for the Central Coast, member for Wyong, David Harris, has hit back at suggestions made by State Liberal Party's Shadow Minister Jackie Munro that there's something sinister about plans to allow some campgrounds and national parks to be set aside for private operators to manage. Challenger Valves has officially opened its new $8 million facility on Wheeler Street, Shepparton in Victoria, significantly expanding both the scale and capability of its operations. Victorian livestock theft has increased by almost 15%, with only one arrest made from 168 reported cases. Police are doing a great job there, with more than 80% classified as unsolved. And finally, today's day one of the Southeast Field Days with over 500 exhibitors. The focus is on showcasing the latest in agriculture products, services and equipment. It's being held in Lucindale, South Australia, and it finishes tomorrow. We have got no action. We'll try that one. If there's regions concerned about fuel and fertiliser and other inputs threatened by the conflict in the Middle East, it would be this one. Now, the Division of Flynn, it's fairly large to say the least, 132,824 square k's. Federal electorate in Central Queensland, covering regional hubs such as Gladstone, Emerald and Banana Shire, with a rural industrial economy focused on coal, mining and ag. Colin Boyce is the federal member for Flynn before entering state politics let's get those tongue working, state politics in 2017. He was an active partner in the family cattle and farming enterprise and the small engineering and earth-moving businesses. Colin was a councillor on the former Taroom Shire Council before the state Labor government amalgamated local councils. After leaving school, Colin worked throughout Queensland as a ringer, timber cutter, plant operator and earth-moving contractor. He believes rural and regional Australia needs strong representation in Parliament. Got to welcome first to our cameras to the show, the Country Telegraph, Colin Boyce. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, well, hello, Mike, and hello to the listeners.
Yes, we have you're not a guinea pig. We've been going now for a good 2 weeks, and it just seems like 10 years. Hey, tell us about how first of all, the fuel crisis. It is a crisis, and a lot of this is the inactivity by the federal governments, and they've created this crisis in some way. But I was reading in one of the newspapers this morning that one guy was saying that he believes if this continues for the next maybe 3 or 4 days or 5 days, we're going to stop seeing food on shelves. Farmers won't be able to deliver their product. How serious is it for your area?
Look, it's very serious, and the whole point to all of this, it's clearly evident that the government does not understand how the supply chain works in respect to fuel deliveries. Now, the big companies, Viva, Ampol, BP, Mobil, they control, they're the big wholesalers, and they control all the fuel deliveries that come into Australia. They are not guaranteeing fuel quota that is, to the third-party contractors that deliver fuel to particularly the agricultural sector and the small communities all over Australia. It's that simple. Last week in Parliament, I went and had three meetings with Chris Bowen, the Energy Minister, and I also spoke to the Prime Minister in person on this very issue. And the reality is that his advisors and all of the people that I spoke with, they don't understand that what is happening is the big wholesalers are restricting access to the fuel reserves that should be going to the agricultural and transport sectors via these third-party contractors. And that is what is making it so difficult to get fuel.
Yeah, I agree. And I was looking at the chart this guy provided today, and we're right down the bottom. We have got no reserves at all, and apparently that's against some convention. We're supposed to have 90 days worth of fuel, which if we had 90 days worth of fuel, we wouldn't be at this point, would we?
Well, again, there are reserves of fuel, particularly in the US, but the problem for Australia in the very short term is that we have very little fuel in the country. There's some 34 days at the last data I saw, and that includes the fuel that's actually on the water, in a ship coming here from Singapore or elsewhere in the world. Now, that's completely unacceptable. If we are to have national security, we need to have a reasonable amount of fuel stored in Australia. We need to have the capability of processing that fuel. We're down to our last two refineries, which is another issue I brought up with the Prime Minister, and that is that the Lytton refinery at the Port of Brisbane, well, it's due for a 10-week shutdown in June to August this year to bring the refinery up to low emissions fuel standard. And the issue with that is that we can't afford to shut that refinery down given what's going on in the Middle East. So I believe the Prime Minister has taken that on board, and I certainly hope that that scheduled shutdown gets put off till later in the year or next year or whenever the whole show calms down a bit.
Yeah, it's pretty clever though, having your fuel reserves in the US. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? And by the way, that's both governments, whether Conservative or Labor, and I think they have neglected, and no one thought this would have happened, but it has happened, and it shows you that we're lacking in sometimes a bit of foresight. Some of the areas or some of the industries in your area, which ones do you think will be affected first? I mean, I can see that the farmers, they all need diesel, but then you've got transport. If we don't get the food moving, and they're talking about all the major markets not having food on the shelves, what happens to the farmer though? I mean, does the sale go through? Does the supermarket say, well, you can't deliver it to us, so therefore, it's just bad luck? It doesn't look good for farmers, does it?
Well, it doesn't, but ultimately what happens here, up here in Central Queensland, we've already got transport companies that are paying in excess of $3 a litre for diesel. Now, what will happen to that is that will transfer itself into a trolley full of groceries. Everything we consume comes on the back of a truck. All of the groceries that go to the various grocery stores, doesn't matter where they are, they all come on the back of a truck. Now, if the transport companies have a further fuel cost impost put on them, they will pass that cost on to the grocery stores, and the grocery stores will ultimately pass that on to the consumer. So this is not going to help the whole cost of living issue. We've got interest rate rises that have occurred recently, as I'm sure you're aware. Inflationary effects will take their toll. Everything is going to become more expensive, including filling up your car with petrol to drive down to the grocery store to get groceries that are going to be more expensive.
Yeah, and then we have fairly strong winds up north. I mean, Queensland, beautiful one day, very windy the next. We've had a few strong winds of late too, but it doesn't augur well for, you got the fuel crisis, you've got all sorts of other issues happening around the country, and then you have cyclones. You've got to feel for the people up in north, don't you? You've got to say, okay, enough's enough. Just about, how do we help the locals up there? Because winds of 260 k's an hour it just about blow me towards Indonesia. So it's very bad, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's right. But please understand this. It is Cape York, and whilst we do feel for the communities up there, Cape York is generally reasonably isolated as far as large populations go. So the cyclone is due to cross the coast, I understand, somewhere north of Cooktown. It will cross the peninsula, go out into the Gulf of Carpentaria, and from the latest mapping I've seen, continue its way across the top of the Northern Territory, northwest, Western Australia, and so forth. So it is a big storm. Category 4 was the last advice I had. Again, this is what happens in North Queensland. We do get cyclones occasionally, and we do get quite severe ones.
Yeah, thank goodness the ABC haven't gone climate change, because many would just call it weather. And that's about...
Well, that's it. It's tropical weather, and I actually amused by the name they called it, Narelle. So, the good
Narelle.
old Australian adage, not wrong, Narelle, yeah.
Tell me about your electorate, Flynn, just the diverse range of industries and people.
Well, Flynn is in Central Queensland, and as you already stated earlier, it's about 130,000 square kilometres, approximately twice the size in area of the state of Tasmania. It is probably one of the big industrial engine rooms of Australia, with a huge agricultural sector that just produces anything you can think of. We also have the Port of Gladstone, the largest multi-commodity shipping port in Australia. The fourth largest coal loading terminal in the world is Wiggins Island, and the RG Tenner coal loading terminals at the port. We've got Curtis Island gas industry there with all the major players there, the largest liquefied natural gas industry on the east coast of Australia. We've got the Rio Tinto refineries and smelter here in Gladstone as well. Australia's largest cement kiln here, Australia Cement, a huge shipping industry, railway industry, all of the engineering and business that hangs off all of that. 3 coal-fired power stations, go coal, I might add. So it is a huge economic engine room for the economy of Australia right here in Central Queensland.
Have you noticed your electorate changing demographics? Because as we, you and I, we don't look our age. We're like only 30 anyway. But as everyone else gets older, the electorate does change. Areas change. How has it changed from?
Well, you're absolutely right. What happens with all of these?
We've just lost Colin. He will come back in about 1 second. At the moment, what I'll do is I'll just keep filling in. We're talking to Colin Boyce, MP. Colin, you disappeared for a second, but you're back now.
Yeah, well, that's our lovely communications network that we've got, and I suggest everybody rings their local member and complains bitterly. But anyway, look, yes, demographics is definitely getting older, particularly in small regional communities. Young people move away and they don't come back. It's that simple. We're losing our government services everywhere. Everything is getting centralised to the bigger regional centres and to metropolitan Australia, where once upon a time there were government outlets in every small community, and we've lost all that.
I have noticed, though, that there is talk, and not talk, there are figures that show that a lot of people are moving out of the major markets because the livability is far too expensive. That's only good for the bush, isn't it? Providing we can keep that city slicker attitude away from the bush. I mean, they're always welcome.
Oh, yeah, correct. But and you're right. What we are finding here is that many of these small towns, you can't buy a house in them. They as soon as one comes up for sale, it gets very quickly bought up. And again, you're right. There are many people coming from the outlying reaches of metropolitan Australia and moving to these small communities and larger regional centres because it's easier to buy a house and. It's in some cases a better lifestyle and a cheaper lifestyle for them.
It is. You've got a terrible football team up there. I think they're called the Cowgirls. I'm sorry, the Cowboys. Who do you follow in the footy, by the way?
I'm actually not a big follower of football. I'm possibly one of the only
Really?
people who don't follow football. I get far too busy doing other things. But
You're a brave man to say that.
oh, look, I'll watch the football if I have to, but it's not the end of the world if I don't. And I rather view football as a bit like the gladiators in ancient Rome, where it was deliberately put there to quell the masses.
Yeah, I love it. Just keep quelling the masses. That's what I reckon. Colin Boyce, MP, federal member for Flynn. Thank you very much. If somebody wanted to contact you to have a natter about the communications not working or price of fuel or whatever, how do they do that?
Well, I have three offices: one in Gladstone, one in Emerald, and one in Gayndah. And I'm easily accessible if you get on my social media website, my Facebook page. All of the details are there to contact my office, and happy to talk to you.
Colin, thank you very much for your time. Enjoy the weekend. At least you won't be stressed out with the football.
Well, I have to go down to Canberra on Sunday and another 2 weeks in Canberra, so lucky me.
Aren't you lucky? But someone's got to do it. Colin Boyce, MP, federal member for Flynn, thank you very much. This is the Country Telegraph.
G'day, Troy Casadale here. I've been travelling around this country playing music for more years than I'd like to remember. I've spent a lot of time on stage, but I reckon I've spent more time on the roads getting to gigs. And honestly, I've seen worse behaviour on the roads than I've seen at any concert of mine, and often from people who have years of experience behind the wheel. It's probably been a while since a lot of us have really thought about our driving, so take a sec and think about what you can do to help keep yourself and others safe on the roads. Us mob are almost 3 times more likely to die in a road crash than the rest of the population, so let's change that. Drive safely. Don't get distracted by the phone or others in the car or get hot-headed or any of that stuff. You wouldn't do inconsiderate things outside a car, so why do them in one? Don't let a car change who you are. Safer driving starts with you.
What is sunburn? Sunburn is a sign that we've had too much sun. So when we get too much UV on our skin is damaged and the cells become inflamed and they become red. And that's sunburn. Sometimes it can peel, sometimes it can blister even. And it's a sign that our skin cells are damaged. And that damage in time can cause skin cancer.
On the sunburnt banks of the mighty Murray River, there's a place where time seems to flow a little slower. It's here where the waters glisten with crystal stillness, where nature's chorus invites the liveliest silence, where in those golden hours at the break and close of day, you can spot twice as many suns shimmering in the sky. It was here in 1958 where Wyndham Hill-Smith first discovered Oxford Landing and dreamt of preserving its wonder for years to come. Today, the 6th generation of the Hill-Smith family tends to the land with the same devotion, committed to sourcing grapes from only estate and family-owned vineyards. Community remains at the heart of Oxford Landing. They've got each other's backs. They've got nature's back, driven to leave the land and future generations with as little worries as possible. There's one thing for sure, the glass is always half full at Oxford Landing. The wines here are crafted with care, fostering a hands-off approach that preserves the land's purity. In fact, these wines are all about preservation of the land, the community, and the industry itself. While the land must be preserved, its fruits are to be enjoyed today. They are to be sipped slowly and shared generously, along with cherished company. As you savour the vibrant serenity and fresh flavours of the region, take a moment to put your feet up and let time flow by.
Now, we want to look at a special part of Australia, which is the Riverland of South Australia. Glenn Muster is a born and bred Waikerie local, but he's still pretty good though. After studying to be a teacher, grapes won him over. In fact, they won me over too, in more ways than one. He won him over and he returned home to work. And I've got to tell you, it's a very, very hard job on the land and also on a grape block with the vines. He was 23 when he commenced at the vineyard. I wonder why he waited so long. Maybe he discovered Adelaide and was appointed Oxford Landings Estates vineyard manager in 2013. In his time at Oxford Landing, the vineyard transformed from an old style vineyard. We say vineyard too. Anyway, one of those. We'll find out which is the correct way because it depends which state you're in. Anyway, developed from an old style to a modern state-of-the-art vineyard. The estate is located between Waikerie and Cattle on the mighty Murray River in the Riverland of South Australia. First of all, Glenn Muster, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here.
23, you headed back to the block. I mean, what happened in between? Don't tell us. Don't tell us.
No. I left school, obviously, left high school, went to what I thought was the big city of Adelaide at the time, but obviously a country lad at heart and couldn't wait to get back home.
Yeah, I was brought up in Mildura in Cardross, which is, we had oranges. We didn't have grapes, they were too little for us to have to reach down and pick those mongrels. But then I went to Adelaide, went to Teachers College, and then I left Teachers College and decided to destroy my life with the media for thereafter. But Adelaide's a great city, isn't it?
Yeah, it's only 2 hours up the road, so yeah, like a second home.
Yeah, and Waikerie, you also have do you still have those World Championship gliding championship things?
Yeah, the gliding club, still thriving just outside of Waikerie. So, but similar to Mildura, citrus, avocados, almonds. Yeah, and
great
and
part of the world. I
vineyards,
used to work at it was 5RM. How's that in Berry? I used to work.
Yeah, that's still going. That's still alive.
Yes,
801.
Amazing. After I was there, I thought it would have burnt down. But the Riverland's a great part of the world, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It is beautiful, blue skies, nice climate. Yeah, great lifestyle.
What's the appeal? Take away all the beauty, which it is very beautiful, and the lifestyle is great. What's the major appeal of the Riverland and Waikerie for you and your family?
Oh, the major appeal, you said? It's obviously the Murray River. Like without the mighty Murray flowing right through the Riverland, the Riverland wouldn't exist. So it's obviously the Murray and everything that attracts, water sports, fishing, you name it, it's got it all.
Before we go, because I'm from Mildura, we say vineyard.
Vineyard.
Yeah, because in South Australia you speak differently, by the way, than Victorians.
We speak properly.
Yeah, get out of it. Is it so? What do you call it? Vineyard or vineyard?
Vineyard.
Vineyard. Well, there you are. We're getting closer. And you have terrible beer. Sorry, talking about old things.
There's nothing wrong with Coopers.
Great for cleaning the engine. Tell us about the local economy of the area. Besides, is it just grapes and citrus, or are there other industries?
The almond industry has taken off. Almonds, avocados, done well, pistachios, so sort of the nut industry, other fruits. traditionally it was more citrus and vineyards, but those, like the almonds, have sort of taken off the last sort of 10, 15 years, and now the avocados.
I think I find that avocados, they're great if you can hang around for about 15 years till they grow.
Yeah.
So in the
And that is the problem, even with the nut industry, you sort of probably wait 7, 8 years before you're fully productive. So it's a long time investment.
Now, I'm very familiar with your winery and your wine, Oxford Landing. Great drop there. I probably have had too many of those, I have to say, and the liver is now paying for it. Tell us about Oxford Landing Estate and its history.
Oxford Landing Estate was settled in 1958 by Wyndham Hill Smith, which was then the owner of the Yalumba Wine Company. Basically, the first grapes were planted in 58. It is now a 1,200 hectare property, which consists of 300 hectares of vineyard, and then over 700 hectares of native veg and revegetation. So in the last sort of 20 years, we've had a massive revegetation project, probably the biggest mallee revegetation project in South Australia, as you're showing on the film here, which we're very proud of. So at Oxford Landing, for every hectare of vineyard, we've got over 2 hectares of native veg. So that's very important to us and the ethos of the company.
What about the recent rains? How do they affect you and your neighbours?
We're still going through it. We had an inch of rain again this week. Some people had more. So we've come off the hottest, driest summer we've ever experienced. Basically, Renmark reached a record 49.6 back in February. And then basically the 1st of March, there were places that received well over 100 mil of rain, and that sort of rain has sort of continued over the last few weeks. So people have sort of averaged between 100 and 200 mil of rain. That's probably not a lot compared to the northern parts of the country, but it is a lot when you're trying to harvest. So that's sort of halted harvest over the last 2-3 weeks. We're starting to see bunches, berries start to split, bunch rot starting to occur. So what that means now is we've got to quickly finish harvest, I guess, as quickly as we can over the next 1 or 2 weeks before those rots become too bad and potentially reject that fruit.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. I mean, my dad used to one year he had citrus and looked fantastic. Thought the season would be just magnificent, and there was a hailstorm, and he said, "I spent 12 months growing that basically, and God came and picked it in about 10 seconds." And it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Same thing. You spend all year from winter pruning to the start of springtime, watering, fertigating, fungiciding, and then you spend those 9 months of the year, and it all can be ruined just overnight with something like a heat wave, hailstorm, or heavy rains.
On the orchard, we were surrounded by grapes, and I used to feel sorry, and I feel sorry for you. Winter and pruning, I mean, I don't know how you do it. It's too bloody hard.
Well, depends. Sometimes these days, most of it's done with a heater in a luxurious cab tractor. So
really,
it's not like
that's terrible.
It's not like it used to be decades ago. No, so don't feel too sorry for us.
Well, I did. It was terrible because I just go outside on the balcony, the porch, and you'd see them, and they'd be. Yeah, and you go wear gloves, and they're picking. I mean, do you have machines now? We used to do it by hand.
There still is a little bit of hand picking goes on, but majority of wine grapes is harvested by machine. Yeah.
I was always
which is
wondered whether it was the owner of the block, whether it was their sense of humour to have spiders and snakes there, just to make it more interesting when you picked. It was awful. It was terrible.
yes, it's amazing what lives in those canopies at times. So
Yeah, that's right. Everything.
big brown snakes, yeah.
Oh, they were great. You don't worry about that. And I used to, did you, because you've been at it, a long, long time, because my dad was a copper for a long time, and the picking season, and there'd be an excess amount of police in the area because, they worked in 38, 39 degree days picking, and then they'd head out to the pub and spend it all. It was, it's a pretty interesting lifestyle, isn't it?
Yes, it's changed a little bit from now. It's not quite the Wild West it used to be, but still plenty of good times to be had.
Tell me about the future of the industry. I mean, we're talking to somebody who had another business in Victoria, growing beautiful wines. And he said he thinks there's just too many doing it at the moment.
Yes, and I think the world consumption of wine at the moment is level with the consumption back in the 1960s. So we're at an all-time low, and obviously the production of wine is way outplaying the consumption of wine. So what that means is I don't know. Probably the long-term future of many of the growers is pretty bleak at the moment. Possibly sort of turning off vineyards, walking away. I've probably seen more of that happen in the last 12 months and this vintage than ever before in my 30 plus years of being involved in the wine industry.
It's very sad and very stressful too. Is there anything the government can do to stop that? Because once you lose, or people even hang around, they've got no money, and the community suffers.
Oh, it'll have detrimental effects on the community, like a place like Wakery or other towns in the Riverland, Sunraysia, right out to Griffith, inland Australia. I don't know. I don't have the answers. They're pretty tough calls, but it is looking quite bleak at the moment. I'm not sure of the answer, but the production levels we currently are producing are way higher than our current sales and export sales.
Something's got to give, doesn't it? Let's talk about
more wine.
I think it's a magnificent idea. Look, I'll be there in 5 minutes. No, actually, I can't. The Gold Coast will be there in about 3 days. And in fact, what we are, my wife and I are going to do a road trip. Swing through Mildura. Do the deed, say hello to everybody there, and hello, how are you, the family, and then go to Adelaide. So we may swing past and take you up on the offer, tipple of wine.
You're more than welcome. There's a beautiful place on the riverfront, right in front of my office here. So a nice lawned area with a little cellar. So you're more than welcome.
No shrimp on the barbie, it's yabbies.
We can catch a few of them as well.
Can you? I used to, I'll get told off by Jen, the producer, my friend, very shortly. But, I left Mildura for a couple of reasons. One, the flies. I couldn't stand them. You go to a barbecue and you couldn't see your food because it was moving with the flies. The other was, it was just hot and dirty. I mean, just me, I was delicate. These hands are delicate. But the Murray does have an appeal for everybody. What's your views on how healthy is the Murray?
It fluctuates quite a bit. Basically, 2022-23 was the biggest flood we've had since '56. But since then, we've had a couple of years of drought. So we're down to like basically pool levels. The overall storage from, I guess, the Dartmouth to the Hume right through to South Australia here is probably sitting at around 40-50%, which is getting the lowest it's sort of been since that flood. But I don't know, it's a state run, but I think it probably could be more of a nationally run sort of project. Each states have their different views. They're trying to look after each other. We're in South Australia, so we're at the bottom end of the river. So we're very reliant on what goes on above us in New South Wales, Victoria, and Queensland.
It's the mighty Murray, but it does take a bit of a beating. Just to wind this up, tell us about some of the. If we're looking for a weekend barbecue, we wanted a few wines, a couple of whites, a couple of reds. We're going to have our yabbies. I can see Trevor Holt there and Martine from WA. They'll be taking notes down here what to drink for the weekend. Or Trevor Holt actually would just be drinking petrol. That's something like that, homemade stuff. But what sort of wines, if we're having a bit of a nosh up for the weekend, what would you suggest?
If you're having a wine, just a little barbecue, anything Oxford Landing, If it's a hot summer's day, a Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Gris. If it's a chilled sort of wintry night, a Cab Sauvage or one of our beautiful Shiraz blocks. So, but we have a wine here for any situation.
What's your favourite? Or do you have a favourite? What's your favourite child?
Hey, all the wines, anything that comes out of Oxford Landing, they're all fantastic wines.
And do you use a glass or just straight out of the bottle?
What was that?
Do you use a glass or is it just straight out of the bottle?
It's always a glass. We're a bit more classy than straight out of the bottle.
Yeah. Now look, it's the weekend, which means it's because you're in South Australia. You probably follow the footy, probably Adelaide or
a
Port
Crows
Adelaide.
fan, definitely not Port Adelaide. A Crows fan.
I think Port Adelaide are. I think their fans are out on parole for this weekend, so there'll be a big crowd. Sorry. But Adelaide itself, I hope they do well. Not too well, but I do hope they do well because they're a great side. South Australia is a great state, and if anybody is thinking about doing a trip, weekend or a week trip, hop on the plane or hop in the car, head to the Riverland of South Australia first. You've got Berry, you've got Renmark, you've got Waikerie, Loxton, these places, and then a little drive to the Barossa Valley. And by the time you get through that, avoid the police because you'll be well over 0.05 and your liver would be dead. But a great way to go, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful wine country all through South Australia, even south of Adelaide to McLaren Vale. The best wine country in Australia by a mile.
It is by far. And Adelaide's a great city. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Glenn Muster, if somebody wants to find out more about your beautiful winery, how do they do that?
I think just go straight to the website. Just Google Oxford Landing Estate, and Google will take you all there. Our website, our history, our story, and all the wines we have. Or just go to your favourite liquor store and our wine shop and have a look.
Yeah, just tell them that Glenn sent you.
Yes.
Glenn Muster, thank you so much for your time. We'll talk again soon. This is the Country Telegraph.
On the sunburnt banks of the mighty Murray River, there's a place where time seems to flow a little slower. It's here where the waters glisten with crystal stillness, where nature's chorus invites the liveliest silence, where in those golden hours at the break and close of day, you can spot twice as many suns shimmering in the sky. It was here in 1958 where Wyndham Hill Smith first discovered Oxford Landing and dreamt of preserving its wonder for years to come. Today, the sixth generation of the Hill-Smith family tends to the land with the same devotion. Committed to sourcing grapes from only estate and family-owned vineyards, community remains at the heart of Oxford Landing. They've got each other's backs. They've got nature's back, driven to leave the land and future generations with as little worries as possible. There's one thing for sure. The glass is always half full at Oxford Landing. The wines here are crafted with care, fostering a hands-off approach that preserves the land's purity. In fact, these wines are all about preservation of the land, the community, and the industry itself. While the land must be preserved, its fruits are to be enjoyed today. They are to be sipped slowly and shared generously, along with cherished company. As you savour the vibrant serenity and fresh flavours of the region, take a moment to put your feet up and let time flow by.
And welcome back to the Country Telegraph. We have Trevor Holt there. He's going to talk about Adair, which is a locality in the Lockyer Valley region of southeast Queensland and is absolutely magnificent. It's about 10 minutes drive from Gatton and positioned between Gatton and Esk, and considers, and by the way, a big hello to those at Esk, we know them quite well there, and considered a quiet residential and farming area. Trevor Holt is a farmer, publisher, councillor, and provider of advocacy services. Recently started the Australian Advocate, a monthly publication covering a great range of issues from agriculture, environment, social and community issues. Trevor, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Mike.
Tell us about Adair. I mean, we keep putting up in your right-hand corner that you are from Adair, but we don't know much about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you say, just slightly north of Gatton. There's no shops or there's no service stations or there's nothing really available in Adair. It's just like you say, a small community of residential and farming operations. Adair was a large farming property in the day, sort of thing, just been subdivided up into different areas and different estates over the years. So pretty much telling people, it's probably Gatton, which is where we go shopping or go into town and get a lot of stuff done in the Gatton communities, or just further east of us is the Plainlands estates, where they've got the Bunnings now and the Coles and Aldi and a lot of the bigger shopping centres there just up the road, which is about 15 minutes, 20 minutes drive away. So just a small little community close to the dams and like you say, the beautiful area of Esk and Atkinson's Dam and that sort of stuff. But a beautiful community, farming community that's got a lot to offer, I suppose, in regards to peace and harmony.
What about the fuel inverted commas crisis, which it is, and a lot of it because of mismanagement? How's that affecting your area?
Well, I haven't had too much problems personally with fuel. A lot of the big names, BP and Coltex and that here are on the highway. They haven't limited any fuel as of yet that I'm aware of. There has been a lot of fuel disruptions in a lot of the smaller independent fuel stations and a lot of these little townships around. But the big name brands on the highway seem to be keeping up with supply at the moment. I have heard it's a bit of a hit and miss when you go to fill up your trucks on your tanks on your regional properties. Some people say they've sort of got all their tanks full, and other people say they're waiting for the trucks to come. So there's a little bit of hit and miss, I suppose. Depends on the provider and depends on I suppose individual circumstances there. But overall, I don't think it's really affected people's way of life as of yet. But there is that worry. And I suppose instead of waiting till your tank's quarter full before you fill up, I think we're filling up at 3/4 full and keeping it full just in case.
A great idea, but if it all stops, then as a economist said this morning, that we could very well have no food on the shelves because the trucks will not be able to deliver. And we'll talk about how government, whether it's local, state or federal, they can mess things up. Which we'll talk about the Gympie Regional Council in a second, but it's a very bad thing, this fuel crisis, and I don't know what's going to happen. We all talk about that there'll be no food on the shelves, but the poor buggers that have grown the food won't be able to sell it, and if they can't sell it, what happens then?
Yeah, and it's interesting, and it's a similar scenario, obviously through COVID, Mike. With it's just that fear that people have, and even myself personally. Like normally, we'd just buy food, on a day-to-day basis or whatever, every couple of days or whatever, and not to have too much in surplus here. But worrying times and worrying about the fuel supply and the food on the shelves means that people are probably buying more long life food, tins food and powdered milk or whatever, to stay on the shelves longer, just in case there is a supply disruption. And from literally the other week of living day to day, basically with our food supplies here in the house, we've sort of stocked up about a month's worth of food in our cupboards now, just in case. That we're hearing throughout, which creates other issues as well, because cost of living crisis, I suppose, is if people are stocking up on food, then that's disposable income that they're not spending on their cafes and local shopping with their disposable income as well. So it sort of has a two-way effect, doesn't it?
It does indeed. Could you imagine, there used to be a song, "The Pub with No Beer." Could you imagine the pubs with no beer? There would be a mutiny. Most Australians would go, nah, that's not right.
Yeah. It's not just, I suppose, like you say, suppliers and pubs. It does affect everyone's life, this shortage. And I feel it is quite disappointing. I know you sort of touched on, incompetence to some degree on the management of this fuel thing and this war that's going on. I suppose they're calling it the Donald Trump war there with Iran and that little strait where all the oil comes from. But these circumstances didn't happen overnight with this war in Iran. These are circumstances that are built from Australia losing sovereignty over its ability to be self-sufficient over many decades, whether it's the steel industry, whether it's manufacturing, obviously the fuel refinery processes, and a lot of it stems from power policies and the fact that expensive power supplies are not empowering people to be able to invest in these major facilities, steel-making facilities or manufacturing facilities or refinery facilities due to ongoing or increasing costs of power. I feel that's a massive issue that has stemmed from this horrible situation that we're sort of could be facing if this war continues.
Which it will. When you go to war, a couple of things you need to understand: have an exit strategy. Oops. Is there's a start, middle, and end. The next thing is that all military minds will say the same thing, that wars have their own mind, and you cannot control the way it goes. It will go in any direction it wants to, as we're seeing at the moment. Let's talk about the Australian Advocate. Last time we had a chat about the gun control laws, and at this time, as you see on the right hand side of your screen in a sec, there's a chemical stuff up by the Gympie Regional Council. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, and I don't know whether you've got it down there. I went for a drive here in our regional council, so I don't feel this is isolated to the Gympie Shire Council at all. I feel there's a reckless distribution of poisons across a lot of the areas here in Queensland. I went from a drive from here to Toowoomba, and there's a famous 20-kilometre road called the Gatton Bypass here, and every sign or every post along that way, or every them white markers on the side of the roads or whatever along the way, had a big square of poisoned area around these signages. So that's what they're a lot, and I'm not sure how long that's been going on for, or it's just something that we sort of noticed going on through our investigative stories. But the disappointing thing is with the Gympie paper article there, is the person that raised the concerns, the organic farmer that raised concerns about these toxic chemicals contaminating his waterways, was the council's reaction. Actually made a big statement at the front of his place, in the easement at the front of his place, and poisoned a big massive square of roadside area just to demonstrate we can do what we want and you can't stop us. So I feel that arrogance within this, within the community workers, or the council workers, rather than working with the community and making an effort to value what the community values. And this guy absolutely values his organic farm practices, and to do things like that, vindictive things like that on public money is atrocious, and I don't really have any words for that. But really, this is something that we're moving forward with in our campaign, because I do believe it's irresponsible waste of taxpayers' money, but also distributing these chemicals when there are alternative methods, and we're developing a world first primary producers utility vehicle as a biosecurity process that we can use to treat these sort of areas without the use of toxic poisons, using low flow hot water to manage these areas if they don't want to mow around it with the slasher. I believe that's what the issue is. I'm still yet to explore that, but just a blatant disregard to people's values and private property practices is really alarming.
Yeah, it's a shocker, and organisations such as councils and those of that same ilk can create, especially when you're a smaller community, it's like saying, don't you speak out of line, I'm the one that's controlling your life, and I'm going to show you what we can do to you because you are just a ratepayer. True, but you've gone through that stuff yourself too, with the issues with fire ants. We won't go into that at the moment, but it's been pretty wild too. And our next guest from WA is doing a great job looking after the environment and trying to get rid of those pesky wind turbines or windmills, which we'll find out very shortly in Geograph Bay. Just quickly, if somebody wants to find out more about the Australian Advocate, how do they do that, and how do they get hold of it?
Yeah. So we just publish it on our website, Australian Advocacy Group website. So we're a membership group trying to create better outcomes for the community. You can find us at aagpilot.com. But just interesting coming up in the April edition, Mike, just quickly, what does a midweek grocery shop at Coles have in common with the CIA counter-terrorism operations? We'll find out in the April edition coming up soon.
Now you've got me interested. I'm trying to think. They eat the same cereal? Maybe not. Maybe
they're far more sinister than that, Mike. And you'll read more with our investigative journalist Rob Mellett. Does an amazing job creating all these stories. So surely stay tuned for that.
And just one more thing, Senator Malcolm Roberts. Sorry, he in this last edition we've seen, he's in that. Malcolm's going to do one each month, is he?
Yeah. He's been in every month. Yeah. We stay in regular contact with Malcolm. He's doing amazing work. I feel that if everyone in Parliament worked as hard as what he has and talked to the community, then I feel the world would be a better place, especially Australia anyway.
Malcolm Roberts is one in a million, and he's a very good representative of the common person in Queensland and Australia. Trevor Holt, thank you so much for your time. What are you doing for the weekend? I said terrible things about you, that you probably make your own stuff and they call it petrol, and then you woof it.
No. Well, I've got my court case coming up on Wednesday, Mike. So obviously a lot more paperwork and preparing for my big court case coming up on Wednesday. A lot of work more on this primary producer utility vehicle, the biosecurity thing to get the vehicle up to registration, so we can start doing some demonstrations and show council how to responsibly manage these easements without the use of toxic chemicals flowing into our creeks and waterways.
I'll have a drink to that one. We've actually, so what we might do sometime next week, we'll talk about that. I think that's a great topic to talk about, and I think it's very important. And your journey, one day they should write a book about it, because you have been, you've been attacked on all sides, and I think you're doing a wonderful job, and I think you're a very good person. In fact, I had the manager for Merv Hughes call me, and he thought it was Merv with that big wild moustache, but it's not Merv Hughes, but you do look like him. You're a lot slimmer. That's
yeah. I work on trying to get a bit of a look, I suppose, just so people don't forget me, Mike. That's all.
I won't forget you. Not with that. No, not with that one. Merv Hughes. Trevor Holt. Thank you. Thanks so much for your time. Have a good one. This is the Country Telegraph.
I don't think I'd be where I would be or where I am now without having moved to Mount Isa.
I guess if you don't get out of your bubble from wherever you live in, you don't know what else is going on around the rest of the world.
The people, the opportunity, the places you can go see, the amount of adventuring you can do around here is just unlimited.
There's community groups for just about everything. We've got most sports covered. It's like-minded people, all encouraging.
Mount Isa is all about community. It's all about building those strong connections within each other.
We went out the other weekend, we got 15, 20 people to come out for a big four-wheel drive. Everyone loved it. The environment that everyone made was just good. Everyone there, everyone having a go.
You've got so much time after work finishes. The sun is up. I know people who put their speedboat in after work and go skiing.
You're able to spend a lot more time doing the things that you love when you're not having to commute so far to work every day.
You get on with everyone, everyone knows everyone, everyone's got mates everywhere. Everyone's willing to help you out too, so you won't get that in the city.
I think you just have to give it a go. You just have to take every opportunity you possibly can and make the most of it.
Yeah, I'm glad I've made the decision I did. Something about the town just brings you back.
Experience of what it is like to be out here and get away from the hustle and bustle and the amazing natural beauty we have to offer out here and the fantastic people. If you're lucky, you might stay for 20 odd years.
Don't miss the 46th Annual Southeast Field Days, celebrating the diversity of the Limestone Coast. 3 large pavilions featuring a huge range of the latest in agricultural equipment. Plus our guests, Airtime FMX, Quince Queen, Kathy Hughes and country music sensation Leah Briggs. As well, 2026 Copprice Australian Yard Dog Championships, plenty of demonstrations, trade stands and more. Over 500 sites with something for everyone. March 20 and 21 at Yakka Park, Lucindale.
Now, Martine Shepherd is the campaign coordinator for Save Our Beloved Geograph Bay in Western Australia that's fighting against those terrible offshore wind turbines. Martine has her own podcast show, Martine's Echo and Country Bites, on Edge Radio Australia, talking about environmental and rural issues, especially farming. Martine, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mike, for having me today. It's an absolute pleasure.
We have a bit of an issue with your microphone at the moment. I think it's in your, if you could just, no, what are we doing? Not working? No, not yet. Yeah, it's very, very faint at the moment. What I might do is just go to a quick spot. Maybe we can just adjust your audio. Perhaps, I don't know what to do. We'll work it out in a second. We'll go back to another commercial and we'll come back and try and fix this up.
Don't miss the 46th Annual Southeast Field Days, celebrating the diversity of the Limestone Coast. 3 large pavilions featuring a huge range of the latest in agricultural equipment. Plus our guests, Airtime FMX, Quince Queen, Kathy Hughes and country music sensation Leah Briggs. As well, 2026 Copprice Australian Yard Dog Championships, plenty of demonstrations, trade stands and more. Over 500 sites with something for everyone. March 20 and 21 at Yakka Park, Lucindale.
Well, I've always said Australia is probably the toughest country in the world to be a farmer in.
There's farmers out there that struggle mentally and physically with droughts.
What I didn't realise before this happened was you can't just walk away.
It is hard for a lot of people to take anything, even when they are at their worst time of their life and they've lost everything.
There seems to be a lot more bad years happening lately.
There's not much support through government.
Since there's drought setters, we'll be the next 5 to 10 years trying to catch up.
If we don't keep the farming alive, where would we get our food from? Where would we source our milk from honey.
Without rural aid, there'd be a lot of farmers who probably would have gone to the wall or probably wouldn't be around anymore.
It boosted our morale a bit to know that we weren't in this on our own.
I mean, if they are looking for a charity to donate to, I think it is one of the best ones.
They wanted to help keep our businesses alive, and it just gave me that extra motivation.
And I think that many more people should start supporting people like Rural Aid, because, you know, that money, it just goes such a very long way.
How do I check my skin? What am I looking for? And what do I do if I see a spot on my skin that I'm worried about? It's really important to check your skin and be aware of what's on your skin. You're the best judge, so you know what's on it and what's new or changing or different. We tell people to check their skin at the change of every season, so about 4 times a year. And make sure you do it systematically. So start at the places you can see, and maybe ask a friend or someone at home to check your back, places you can't see. You're looking for things that stand out, that are different to their neighbours, that are growing or changing with time. And sometimes skin cancers will be tender or they'll be bleeding, but not always. So if there's something strange on your skin, make sure you go to your doctor and get it checked.
And we're just about, hopefully, be able to talk to Martine Shepherd. Just keep our fingers crossed. It's the last interview for the week, and let's try this one out. Martine, Earth Calling Martine, are you there?
I can hear you clearly, Mike. Can you hear me?
We can. It's what you have is your connection, but we'll get through this. I think your connection to it's a bit like that. So that's all it is.
Apologies.
No, it's actually all good. Tell us about the latest, what's happening in Geograph Bay, and it's one of the most beautiful parts of Australia, and the thought of having thousands of turbines out there in the water just destroying the environment is just mind-boggling. What's happening?
Well, Mr. Bowen went ahead and announced that the feasibility licenses would be granted to the 2 proponents, EDF and EDP, which is a French and a Spanish company. ENGIE from the UK, ENGIE, is also collaborating with one of the proponents to put in approximately 266 offshore wind turbines into the Bunbury offshore region. It's hit with a whole different layer now of pushback and absolute outrage because, of course, we've had the demersal fishing ban here. And, of course, the most vital habitat for a lot of the endemic species here, because of the breeding grounds and the fact that Geograph Bay is a natural nursery area, is in these offshore wind turbine zones. So we have, been saying from the beginning that we knew that this government, especially the state, in collusion with the federal government, was going to shut down these areas so we couldn't have access to these beaches, that we couldn't have access to these oceans, because we know from all of our interviews and dealings with people overseas in the US and the UK, the damage that's been done to wild stock fisheries. Now there's investigations into the excess whale deaths. And this is a whale birthing zone. People are absolutely out of their minds. On top of that, now we've just been hit with what's happening with the diesel situation. So poor fishermen that have been battling to keep their head afloat by sort of being able to fish in other areas outside the total ban, because people don't understand that the whole demersal fishing industry has been nuked by Minister Jarvis, who owns a winery and out there promoting herself, but decided that the industry had to go without any consultation. It's no consultation, no transparency here in West Australia whatsoever.
Yeah, it's pretty bad to say the least. We have some vision at the moment, some of the beautiful wildlife in the water. A lot of people are saying, oh, it's going to save the planet. And first of all, my humble opinion, it is not. That was all based on a lie, that says that our education system failed us miserably. But moving on from that, what do the actual wind turbines, or as Donald Trump says, the windmills, what does it do to the environment?
Look, there's numerous things that it causes atmospheric changes. So it draws down atmospheric layers from higher altitudes and brings them down. It causes drying effects. It heats the water temperature. It changes oxygen levels on the surface of the water. And then there's what's happening under the water, which is absolute devastation. So never in any kind of ecology-based science that I have ever been a part of, worked for the Department of Environment, studied marine science. So never do we cause habitat destruction to improve the environment in any way, shape or form. So we know that by causing environmental destruction, by cutting through vital limestone reef system that's out there, as well as we're going to have massive seagrass die-off because of the dredging. These are all of the things that are actually absorbing CO2. So I don't understand that, you know, the ocean is the biggest carbon sink on the planet. So we're causing disruption to the very systems that we don't even really comprehend, because that was never factored into this climate change hysteria science, cooked data. There's a lot of cooked data over here in WA, unfortunately. So people that would like to have that discussion, I'm saying bring it on, because at no point do we think that bringing over really dodgy technology from China, especially that, you know, we've had blades with asbestos, we've got towers that are collapsing because they are substandard, that we want to put any of that at all in our oceans, let alone put it at risk for those things. Then we've got radar interference, and we have two aerostrips in the region that would be affected, which is Bunbury, and that has the Royal Flying Doctors going in and out of there as a part of their headquarters and a hub there. We've also got ground-based fire response that's based out of Bunbury. There's a flying school in Bunbury. All of these radar interference that the US has already determined that they do cause radar interference and scatter. In 2024, Sweden cancelled 13 projects off its coastline because they know that they could not protect their people, their nation, from missile attack and invading forces if that happened at all. So the fact that there's radar interference, then we're talking about just the safety of those things, because we do know there's blade breakages, so there's never been determined a safe buffer zone. We could go on and on for hours, and anyone who thinks that going in and destroying vital habitat that is about biodiversity retention or allowing species to recover, interrupting also the Lewin Current, which is vital to this whole region, including wineries, because those equatorial currents that come down the western coastline here is the only one in the world. And this is the only offshore wind project that would ever be put over a reef system, and they're willing to sacrifice that for foreign greed and profits. But we've got Queen Mary over here from Denmark drumming up business, which was horrifying for us to see that in the last week or so.
Yeah, and we should always take note of visiting dignitaries, Queen Mary.
Of course.
No, what's his name? Prince Siegfried?
Frederick.
Frederick, I knew that was right.
Frederick.
That's his neighbour. But it's it's pretty wild over the. I mean, but it's all about money, isn't it? It's not about common sense. It's not about doing good for the community. What good? Okay, what does it do? Like, let's be even here, even keeled. What good does it do for the local community? It must do some good.
We've had a lot of discussions about what it would do as far as in the destruction of what the pros and cons would be. We can't think of really anything, because the impact on tourism alone, which is the whole region is a tourist mecca. I mean, every weekend you have the massive migration from Perth and the city areas to come down and enjoy this beautiful, pristine blue zone, which is the blue zone is the detox, the cleansing, the area that people come to relax. And I can tell you right now, with the infrasound and the impact that these offshore wind turbines are going to have, we're going to lose our blue zone. We're going to lose the integrity of that beauty, and you cannot put a price on that. You said it before, you know, this is an area that when cruise ships come in, we've interviewed people on those cruise ships, and when they've heard about the offshore wind turbines, and people from European nations went, oh, no, don't do that. They've ruined all the coastlines all through the UK and places in Europe. He's like, why would you do that to this place? And I'm like, it's not our choice. From the beginning, we were never heard by this government. So Mr. Bowen and Mr. Watt, who's the Minister for Environment, I mean, these are going to be things on their watch that are going to be tabled in history as the most diabolical assaults on natural systems that we've ever seen.
Yeah, if you look at Watt and Bowen, without being cruel and unkind to the education system, there's another example on how it did not work. Because you just look at them, and with the we have Stephen Nowakowski on. He was on, I think, Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday this week, talking about the Great Dividing Range on what they're doing to that. You know, with thousands upon thousands of wind turbines and just destroying the environment. Once the environment, once this natural beauty has been destroyed, it's nigh impossible to bring that back, isn't it?
Totally. And the thing is, it's you know, beauty is one aspect of it, but it's the really, and that's on land, but the complex interdynamics of the water system, especially in this area, because it is so unique in the whole world. It should have been classified as a biodiversity hotspot, and the fact that they've done a lot of seagrass regeneration and planting, it's cost millions and millions of dollars to reestablish seagrasses, but then we're going to come in and destroy them. To me, it's like, how do you justify those actions? There's no science that is proving that it's going to be good for the environment. You can't quantify how much we are going to have to keep destroying nature for the sake of these type of green renewables. And I am all for improving the way that we have an impact on the environment, to minimize it as much as possible and to create better technology. But this is not better technology. This is old technology that's failing. It's an intermittent energy system. It's not clean. It's not green. The amount of CO2 that's used to actually, if that's the premise that it's good for the environment, the CO2 needed to create them, to ship them here, who's going to be shipping in this environment anyway with the price of diesel? I can't say that that is even going to be economically viable. So good luck with that, Queen Mary, for drumming up business. You better provide your diesel as well from Denmark. But I spoke to a Danish gentleman 2 weeks ago, and he said they have destroyed their fisheries there. Do not, under any circumstances, stop pushing back, because they are covering up a lot of lies of the destruction. And this is on our watch, and regardless of who we are and what walk of life we come from, we come with a united voice, whether we're, a family business, we're just residents, we're people who just love to walk on the beach, we're fishermen, we're, whale tour guides. All of these people come together, and we have a very, very strong WA alliance now against offshore wind turbines, because you can't justify shutting a whole industry of fisheries and saying, oh, they're near extinction, but then go in and destroy their habitat with offshore wind turbines. Those are juxtaposed conversations, and it's total hypocrisy, which really does indicate that these WEF puppets have sold us out to an ideology and agenda from GOA, the UN, the whole lot, kit and caboodle. They sold us out for this, and we're going to push back until we stop it, Mike. I can tell you now.
We could go on, but we have gone 20 minutes over time. So I have a couple of engineering people here waving at me and threatening to dismember me, because it is Friday. And we need to continue this, because I want to talk to you next time, if you could make yourself available, about the Scott River Wind Farm, these places, about local politicians. What are they doing? I would imagine that many aren't doing a whole lot, because they also went to the same school as Chris Bowen and Murray Watt went to. But if somebody wanted to make contact with you and get involved, because this is not an environmental greedy thing. This is something about our future. It's going to do no good at all. And whether you like it or not, the the idea of renewables and climate change and stuff, it just is an indication that our entire education system has gone south and is not working. It is complete lies. So somebody wanted to get hold of you, and it doesn't mean we don't look after our planet, because we should. We should look after our backyard, but some of these are just nuts. We're going to destroy the world to save it, and it don't make any sense. Martine, how does someone get hold of you or your organisation to be part of a very good movement and a consensus of opinion that's hoping to sway government?
If people are on Save Our Beloved Geograph Bay, they can find that on Facebook. That's a huge community we have there. So it's hashtag Save Our Beloved Geograph Bay. You should find those posts, or just look under Save Our Beloved Geograph Bay. Also on Martini's Eco and Country Bites on Facebook. They'll be able to find me, connect through that way. And if they're wanting to connect to the community against offshore wind turbines, as well as Scott River and other projects that are trying to go ahead, even keep Kalbarri beautiful, we will do our best to connect you and get you to see that WA is really being thrown under the bus with Victoria about these offshore wind and this green renewables garbage.
Now, you heard our guest before, Trevor Hold, because you popped in early, and you would have heard about some delicious wines. What are you doing for the weekend? Are you partaking in a few drops?
I'm working, actually. I have my own business, so wineage doesn't quite go until the job's done, Mike. So maybe I'm more a bit of a go and have a cocktail more than wine.
Some of those, they all work.
These days, it's like I'd like to do the damage just all in one glass, if you know what I mean.
Mate, only one. I admire you for your intestinal fortitude, as they would say, but no, you've got to have a second. It's always better but they say if you enjoy the third more than the first and second, then you have a problem. Martine Shepherd, great chatting. We'll do this again hopefully next week, and we can talk about the other areas. It is a serious problem. This is not what should be happening to this country. Doesn't mean that we're raving lunatics, with signs, but we do need to look after our environment, because once it's gone, and the damage it will do, all based on a lie, is just horrendous. Martine, thank you very much. This has been the Country Telegraph for this week. Thank you so much for your time. The background, by the way, is Tully, which is not far from Mission Beach, in fact, and I keep telling my wife I would love to move there, but the wife says, on your sweet Nelly, you're not going to go there. But maybe for a holiday. So Tully is a great part of the world, a great part of Queensland. This is a great country, a country that we need to look after those on the land. We need to have better government, look after the environment, but don't go nuts with it. And be kind to your neighbours, to those at the supermarket or whatever, because if you're going through some guff or some crap, they are too. We need to be a little more tolerant. Thank you so much for being our guest. To all of our guests, thank you so much for being part of the show. To our audience, thank you so much. Don't forget, go to Facebook. How do they do that? They go to follow us on Facebook and like us, and same thing with YouTube. We do need your likes and your follows and your subscriptions, just to make this thing grow, because it's all about farming. It's all about rural, regional and outback Australia. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.